Hello, and once again, welcome to Alleyway Conversations. I'm Andrew,
And once again, I'm Patrick.
and we're going to talk about something we have been waiting this entire month to talk about.
Oh my god, you guys. This is probably my favorite genre of movies, aside from maybe gangster movies. So, we are going to talk not only about horror movies, but about particularly bad horror movies. And I feel like there's somewhat of an endearing trait to that.
And there is not a short list to choose out of that.
Oh no, like we had to actually take some off just based on like what we thought qualified as a B movie and whether it was intentional in being cheesy. We added in a couple of those too.
I mean, there's a long category list that we could have gone through, but
Oh yeah.
in the end, there are some, like if you would count an Army of Darkness, like we talked about last episode, it could not be a B-rate cheesy horror movie because it didn't want to be a horror movie.
No.
It specifically went for
No,
horror and comedy.
it wanted to be a comedy movie with zombies. And I think it succeeded. I think it did really well at that.
Oh yeah. Well, I know there in high school when I watched it, it was more famous than the Evil Dead movies, or at
Yeah.
least I knew more people that watched Army of Darkness versus Evil Dead.
Depending on which crowd you talk to.
This is true.
Like, I tend to go with a much more rougher crowd when it comes to movies, and they like their blood and guts, and
I'm more of a comedy fan
Yeah.
than I am a horror fan.
yeah,
Just like neither one of us is going to sit here and tell you about all the wonderful sport movies we watched.
yeah, you remember Rudy?
That's probably one of like 5 I've watched.
Yeah, The Replacements. That was actually not too
That
bad.
had Keanu Reeves in it, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it had Keanu Reeves and the 7-Up guy. I forget
Nice.
his name. He's really nice.
It was a good movie,
Yeah.
and I've watched it about 4 times.
And,
Every single
Lex
time was
Luthor.
because somebody else put them on.
I don't know. Like, there have been times I've, like, it's definitely, I can't remember a time where I'm like, I'm going to watch it right now. It's always been, it's on TV. I got about an hour to kill. Sure, this'll be fun.
Right. I think that's how I watched the 2000 Godzilla movie.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
To be fair, I watched it too, but I mean, I was actually excited about it. I watched a lot of Godzilla as a kid, and I'm like, oh, they're making an American one. It's got, like, Ferris Bueller in it. I loved Ferris Bueller. This is gonna be really good. And then I watched it, and...
Well, probably the best part of that movie was those Frenchmen. I cannot remember his name, but he played Leon the Professional.
Yeah.
Awesome guy.
I want to say it's Jean-Luc Pizon, but no, that's the director of Leon the Professional, so...
Oh, man, I did enjoy that movie.
Oh, was it Natalie Portman?
What?
Yeah, Natalie Portman was the little girl in,
You're
Leon.
kidding.
You didn't know?
No, I watched that movie like 12 years ago. I liked it, and
Yeah.
you know,
I
honestly,
actually forced myself. I actually got forced into watching Leon the Professional because I saw a few pictures of Natalie Portman. Like, I think her name was like Matilda or something in that.
sounds familiar.
Natalia. It was somewhat Russian sounding, but no, she looked and acted a lot like a character that I wrote. So I wanted to like watch this and make sure like just kind of looking similar was all they had in common.
It was it.
No, not really. My character was a bit older, and that tends to make a world of difference. There was a lot of things similar, but they were done a lot differently, basically. And her crush on, like, the big bad mobster was a lot more... It wasn't quite as obvious.
To be fair,
Because
and
as
again,
you
this
grow
is
older, you understand subtlety a little bit better.
and this could just be me because I'm remembering the movie from, like I said, 10, 12 years ago. Didn't she just want to become friends with him at first, and she only tried hitting on him because she thought it was the only way to stay alive from the gangsters trying to kill her?
I don't really... I think she also just kind of liked him. Maybe it was like, this person actually cares about me, and, you know, I might as well do something for him.
Well, not only that,
I don't think that was the case. I think she's just trying to figure out herself, and that's okay.
I think there's the big thing is she knew he was an assassin, and this was like the middle of the 80s. The 80 action hero was like the biggest person you could do. I thought The Professional came out in like 89.
No, it came out in like the mid-90s, I want to say.
I swear, looking at the movie, it looked like it was supposed to be the 80s.
I don't know if it was set in the 80s. It felt very timeless in its way. You know, unlike, well, it's like there are movies like, say, Saturday Night Fever, which was filmed in the 70s and
definitely
was
a
a 70s movie.
Yeah.
Or it can be like, Stranger Things is really good at that. It definitely feels very 80s.
Because that's what it was meant to be.
Yeah,
I can see that.
But I feel like with some movies, it's like this could happen at any time, really. You know, there's no real like time period where you like look at it and you're like, oh, that was in 2002 or whatever.
Well, I guess. Well, unless you're looking at New York before the towers fell. Yeah, but I guess maybe that's because I look at all the settings that like the home life for Leon is, and he's got just all the old 80s furniture, and same with Matilda's family. It could be because they grew up in that part of the city and they couldn't afford to get anything newer than that.
Well, and for Leon, it's like he's going to travel a lot. He's going to go to a lot of different apartments and such. Why would he like splurge on really nice brand new furniture?
True. I went to the Goodwill. I spent $10. Now I got an entire living room of furniture.
I now have van full of furniture. At least my living room.
We're supposed to be talking about B-rate horror movies, and we're talking about one of just a timeless classic.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's also like we'll save that for possibly a gangster movie episode.
Which, we started
or maybe just, like, some odds and ends just because of we sometimes want to talk about movies we like.
At least before this, we were talking about the 2000s Godzilla. I could easily call that a really terrible movie.
Oh, definitely. They made Hank Azaria not funny. How do you do that? How do you make Hank Azaria not funny?
Shinago.
Fucking Ben Stiller made Hank Azaria funny.
Made him a funny.
Yeah, he really was. Like, he was the French guy from Along Came Polly. Did you ever see that?
It sounds so familiar. I want to say I did.
Yeah, it had, like, Jennifer Aniston.
Didn't it have Cheech Marin in it?
Maybe as a cameo, but I don't specifically remember him.
Okay, you're saying Along Came Polly. I might just be thinking Polly, because there was a
Polly
the Parrot movie that could talk.
I actually never saw that.
Oh, it was funny. Cheech Marin is literally the person who's talking to the parrot and gets told the entire story. He's like, you can talk. Well, they can talk. No, I say taco, they say taco. Watch. Taco. 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 And that was it. Otherwise, the whole movie is Paulie telling Cheech Marin his life story.
Oh, God. I absolutely love Cheech Marin. But,
yeah. It was good. Okay, so, first on our list.
Yeah. Let's talk about
Troma film.
Troma. Yes. Now Troma should be part of the Anti-Criterion collection. Like it is a large. It's a producing company, but they produce nothing.
Wait, what?
Yeah. My point is, they do make a lot of. They made. I don't know if they're still making a lot of films. Like they'd make like 10 or 20 a year. It was ridiculous for like the team they had. But they did this purely out of making these movies. Like I've had nights out that were more expensive than your average Troma movie.
So these are like Netflix back in like 2000. 10, 12? They would buy any script simply because they needed content.
Early streaming Netflix was a gold mine for schlocky, cheesy movies.
Yeah.
That was where I found out my love for foreign crime drama. So.
Yeah.
And it was through that I ended up getting really into the Yakuza games.
So how many of these Troma films have you watched? Give me an example of like some of your favorites.
Well, I can't really think of a ton because I watched a lot of them while I was plastered. So it'd be like you'd be like skimming through your buddy's collection because I had a friend who collected trauma films. Welcome to the punk scene.
You must have been in heaven.
Yeah, it was beautiful. He'd just like, yeah, we'll watch whatever you want. I've already seen it, so I'm not missing anything. You just pick whatever sounds cool to you. And yeah, we'd just spend like a whole afternoon doing nothing but drinking beer and watching these horrible, horrible movies.
Which, from everything I've heard, these movies are terrible, but they got some really eye-catching titles.
Yeah, and that was kind of, that's a very iconic part of B-movies, I would say, is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a good movie at all, but it definitely has to have a title that'll catch your eye and just be like, huh, what's going on with this?
Or maybe not even so much the title has to be catchy as the people in it, like Creepshow.
Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of felt like they couldn't really use star power because they couldn't afford really good actors. They could afford Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead at one point, but he wasn't really a main character.
Was that because he basically showed up on set one day and they're like, hey, you want to stand in front of the camera for 10 seconds? Sure.
Yeah, I can't help but think he just stumbled in, bottle of Jack in hand, and he's like, oh, you filming a movie over there? Yeah, aren't you that guy from Motorhead? I've been in some bands, what of it?
Maybe.
You want to do some, like, monologuing? Fuck, I got an afternoon to kill.
Right? You know what? I ain't got a gig today. This sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah.
What's the name of this movie again? And then they tell him the title. Fuck, that sounds cool. What's it about?
Yeah,
Shh, don't tell him.
He was in Tromeo and Juliet. Which,
oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that already sounds terrible.
It was. A big deal behind it was that there's a lot going on with it. But it did have Lemmy Kilmister narrating, which, lovely of a man as he is, he may not enunciate well for voiceovers. Though he did really well in Brutal Legend, but I think he was actually trying in Brutal Legend.
Brutal Legends, you know, it was a good game. I loved the scenes. Jack Black and all the famous metal musicians in there really made that game. It was amazing.
I feel like Rob Halford was just like he seemed so disinterested, but he's like, I gotta do it for the kids. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Ozzy was... What did they make Ozzy? The guardian of the metal? The godfather of metal?
He was basically the merchant, but, like, God, he sold that.
He was made of lava. He lived in liquid metal. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I love, like, the first scene. He's like, are you, like, some kind of deity or, like, a holy man? No, I'm just some guy who likes metal.
So what can you do? I can really rat out your car.
Yeah, I can make you a ride real tricked out, yeah.
It just, oh God, it was beautiful. I would purposefully, every time I would do a single mission and then run back to Ozzy. I'm like, oh my God, do I get a new voice clip now?
Yeah. I love it how after a while he's just like, you again.
Like, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah, it's me again.
Sorry, I just really like your voice.
Yeah, everybody loves your voice. You've gotten paid over the last 30 years because you have such an awesome voice.
Now stop talking and sing, because you can't talk.
He has a hard time enunciating, yes. I feel like that's something all older British musicians have problems with. Once they reach about 60 or so, they have problems enunciating. Lemmy had it. Ozzy has it. Rob Halford's starting to get that way. He's not quite as old as Ozzy or Lemmy, though.
Yeah, and yet the instant Ozzy starts singing, crystal clear voice. Love
it. Yeah, like it's almost like an impulse for him.
Yeah, it's like the angels themselves came down, touched his voice, and said, "You will never be understood while speaking, but we'll never let that golden tongue of yours Die.
Yeah. It's kind of like you can kind of say the same thing about like Henry Rollins or like Jello Biafra nowadays. Like they're old, they're really old, but at the same time they just like, okay, let's get this over with. Step out on stage and just drop this heavy fucking anarchist manifesto. Uh,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Work of art.
I love Dead Kennedys. But,
Yeah, they are one of your favorite bands, aren't they?
they are. But, we got off on a tangent. I feel like it's sad because I feel like this is an episode I've been waiting at least a month to do, and we keep getting sidetracked.
Well, see, that just shows how much you love the horror genre, because it leads you to so many
Yeah.
other things. Like, that's the thing about B-campy movies. They can have great writing,
Yeah.
they can have great actors, they can have great directors, they can have all the stuff that needs to be great, and it just falls flat on its face.
Well, that and plus, I mean, for me personally, there's a lot of association. It's really, a lot of B movies are really low budget. So they kind of appeal to the punk crowd because it's kind of DIY. Like, a lot of comedy fans like you like it because it's actually funny.
Yeah.
A lot of horror fans like me like it because sometimes you'll find some actually creative gore scenes.
It's a combination of things that I don't know how best to put it. I feel like it's a combination of things that could go well because it has in the past, but for some reason it just didn't this time.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Like, zombies have always been a mainstay in, like, horror movies. Like, ever since Night of the Living Dead, anytime you just really want to see some really creative gore scenes, there's always a zombie movie for that. Anytime you want some really good suspense, there's a really good zombie movie for that. And you better believe it, there's some really good zombie movies that are just, cheap as hell, really goofy and campy.
Well, and I know we talked about like George Romero. He is an amazing filmmaker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In his original Night of the Living Dead, he had like a bare bones budget. They talked that they filmed it in black and white because they couldn't afford colored film.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like a new enough thing that it was that much more expensive, or they were just cutting every penny they could. They were talking about like the producers. They got extras from Romero's hometown. He's like, look, I want to make a movie. Who would be willing to volunteer their time to do it?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we'll do that.
Well, I mean, up until the release of digital filming, there were a lot of really good films that were shot in black and white purely because it was way cheaper. Just because nobody wanted to watch a black and white film. But, you wanted to make a movie.
You did
Let's
what you
try
had
it.
to do.
Yeah.
Well,
Clerks is a great example. The only reason it's in black and white was because it was cheap.
I remember I've got a Mel Brooks collection of movies, and I only know like half of them. I've watched the others, never heard of them before in my life. And there was one called Silent Movie.
Oh, yeah!
It takes place...
that was intentional.
Yeah,
that was
it takes
purely
place
part
in
of
the
the joke.
80s. You have color,
Yeah.
but it's a silent movie. And
Yeah.
I loved it. It was... But who else but someone like Mel Brooks could pull something like that? Because you expect him
ironically,
to be zany and all.
There is only one line actually spoken in the entire movie, and it is said by Marcel Marceau, a very famous European mime. I'm not joking.
I love it. That's perfect.
Yeah, Mel Brooks is great. I wish we could have talked about like some of his other films.
We'll do that later. He has made so many great. We're gonna dedicate episodes to directors.
Oh yeah, we
or...
were thinking about that, having a director month where we talk about our favorite directors.
Yeah, we could do directors. We could do episodes on that, on some of the actors we really enjoy, and just choose topics. I mean, it's our podcast. We can do whatever the heck we want to.
Oh yeah, maybe one day we'll just have an episode dedicated to just movies we want to talk about.
Yeah.
This isn't that episode.
No.
We're talking about movies that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, I know we were on George Romero, and
yeah.
the one I feel like I can talk about because I've actually watched a lot of them is Creepshow, because it's not only George Romero but Stephen King.
Oh,
Two masters of their craft get together and make that.
Well, I talked to you a little bit about before we started recording, is that I think they knew, like, well, I mean, obviously they know. We have the master of suspense, the master of horror, the guy who invented zombies, making a movie together, and I feel like they just wrote the script, like, having a few drinks together, and just like, oh god, this is gonna be a lot of fun. They just wanted to make a really fun movie that kind of reminded them of, like, those classic, like, cinema double features. And I think they succeeded. I think they had a lot of fun, and it was a good time.
Well, because they made 3 Creepshow movies and a Creepshow series. Now, the movies took place all in, the late 80s to 90s?
I feel like...
Because Creepshow 1 definitely has, like, a crypt creeper vibe to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know which one came first, but that was somewhere around the late 80s to early 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, most certainly. And I feel like Creepshow 2 definitely fit in that. It definitely felt like a very, like, early 90s, maybe late 80s sort of thing. And Creepshow 3 was not. Yeah, Andrew's never seen Creepshow 3, but it was fairly modern. I would say, like, possibly even early 2000s.
Well, I can tell that the Creepshow series, which is a thing on Shudder, and I do enjoy it.
Certainly, yeah.
And that definitely has a movie quality and stuff to it that definitely seems... Because there's the internet, there's more modern computers. I would say, 2010 to later, definitely vibe on it.
Yeah.
And they had some really interesting stories on there.
Oh, totally.
Like zombies or werewolves versus Nazis.
Yeah, I actually remember I was gonna, like, give the remote up and, like, let people watch what they wanted in the house, because I'm not the only one who wants to watch TV. But then I was like, dude, wait a minute. There's Nazis versus werewolves. I gotta see this.
Right. I mean, it's just one of those, okay, I'm done. Smack in the face. What was that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
But yeah, that was... To date, we haven't finished the series, but it was my favorite episode. There was also that one with DJ Qualls in it, where he had that pet thing.
Oh yeah, they kept going out and killing people for him.
Yeah.
And it was just like a little loyal puppy that slept in the freezer.
Yeah.
It was adorable, but it's weird because he's going to get blamed for all those murders, but at the same time, I'm sorry, I live in, like, New Jersey. How did I, in 3 days, fly to New York, kill this telemarketer, and fly and get back? I obviously don't have the money for a plane ticket. I don't have a car.
I think it was Chicago, honestly, but...
But still, the point is there's no way he could have done it. But when your options are, this guy went on a murderous rampage and killed his family, or no, there was this weird creature, it regenerated from beer.
Yeah, it lived in his freezer, and oh man.
Yeah, what are you gonna believe?
It still very much feels like the spirit of Creepshow. It's not always scary, but it's always like you can tell someone had a lot of fun making this.
Yeah, it's at the very least, it's definitely interesting enough to make you go, oh.
Yeah. You've never seen Black Mirror, have you?
I don't believe so.
I think you might like it.
Is that the one where it's supposed to be kind of like a futuristic horror viewing? Like things that could happen in the future?
No. I guess you could interpret it that way.
Well, because like every episode is its own story.
It feels more like a very... Yeah, it is like very much... It very much feels a lot like Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits. But it does so with the technology of today, and like... Technology is kind of the main theme of it, like how much do you trust your computer, or whatever.
It's not the computer I don't trust, it's all the people that control me through it.
Well, there's stuff about that too.
Oh yeah.
But
They had some interesting things. I only saw like 2 or 3 episodes because, like I said, it wasn't a comedy. It wasn't something I got really sucked into, so I didn't watch a whole lot of it. But
well, and I mean, there was a definite feel of suspense to it.
Oh yeah.
And I latched onto it pretty heavy there for a while.
So going on, Troll 2. I know you love to talk about it.
It is probably my favorite bad horror film of all time. So Troll 1 was run of the mill. It was fine. There wasn't anything wrong with it.
Okay.
There wasn't anything great about it, though. Other than the fact one of the characters was named Harry Potter.
What?
This was made in the 80s. Like 15 years before the Harry Potter books was made.
So hopefully no copyright detentions from the other direction, actually.
Yeah, it just like one of the characters. It's a common enough name. There's gotta be someone who was already named Harry Potter at that point. So yeah, but that was the only thing remarkable about it that I can think of right offhand. Troll 2. I feel like they just kind of looked at Troll 1 and they looked at the reviews and they looked at the sales and they're like, alright, well, we tried being good. We can't do it. Let's try being bad. And they succeeded amazingly.
Because isn't that considered one of the best, worst movies of all time?
Yeah, it is. It does have the unofficial title of Best Bad Movie.
I love it.
And I wholeheartedly agree with it. So there is not a single actor in this who is devoted to the character at all.
Have they gone on to do anything? Like, did they just basically step outside and said, "Who wants to be a movie star for a day?"
Yeah, I feel like I almost feel like they went to porn sets.
Oh,
and they're like, hey, do you guys ever want to be in like an actual movie that you don't have to get naked for?
Wait, this is an 80s horror movie. Are you telling me there was no flashing titties or anything?
No, it was PG-13.
Wow, I'm surprised.
There wasn't even a whole lot of like blood and guts. But it was, it didn't need all that to touch my heart. all you really needed was, oh my god, they're trying to eat you, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my god!
So either porn acting or daytime sitcom acting.
Oh yes, it was god awful.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, it really was. And
I'm gonna have to watch this.
You will. I think I have the DVD somewhere. I have to have the DVD somewhere.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, everybody should have it. It should like come standard with every DVD player, except nobody buys DVD players anymore.
Good point.
While we're on the subject of reasonably family-friendly 80s horror movies, I feel like I'd be doing us all a disservice if I didn't mention the explosion of like weird creature features that didn't come out, surprisingly and coincidentally, right after the success of the Gremlins movie.
Are you talking about Gremlins 2?
No. Gremlins 2 was a good movie.
Oh, see, I've never seen it. I've watched the first one, but
yeah,
never any.
It's very different, but it's not necessarily a bad movie.
I might have seen scenes. Is Gremlins 2 the one where Gizmo's in a little remote-controlled airplane flying around?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot more going on, and it's a lot of fun. But no, there was a lot of really, really bad ones that came out too. I feel like Chud, which was, oh boy.
The name alone gives me hope.
Yeah. It's an acronym, and I cannot remember. It's like something humanoid underground dweller. It was like, yeah, kind of like I don't know, like,
how to describe.
Yeah. I wanted to use the Futurama comparison because they got all the mutants down the sewer, but they weren't, like, anywhere near people-like. They were creature-like. Because, again, this came out in order to bank off the whole Gremlins thing that was going on.
So, kind of like the FEV from Fallout? They could...
Not even that, because they're still human-like.
Not... I mean, a lot of them, yeah. A couple of them.
Yeah, I guess.
The master fused with
kind of like the
computers.
Centaurs.
Yeah,
from,
or the
like,
guy that
Fallout
fused
3.
with a tree.
Yeah.
Harold.
There was a lot more going on with that whole thing. But,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that. They were,
they-
like, living underground, and they came out and, like, started attacking
Did
people.
they originate from humans, or was this a completely different species, like mole men or something?
I feel like it was one of those, like, there was some kind of, like, genetic testing that went awry. It's been a while since I've seen it. I cannot guarantee that.
I'm sorry, since you can't provide me any information right now, I'm just imagining, like, 400 or 500 years ago, there was a cave-in in a mine, and they said, we could try to rescue them, but this mine is worthless, screw it.
Yeah.
And all the miners banded together and like, you know what? We will have our revenge! And they started, I don't know, mating with moles and freak accidents and hillbilly science and solar winds!
And then... but yeah, it was, it's a trip. It's definitely one of those good, bad movies in which, you're not scared at all, but you're having a really good time watching it.
Is that like that fish movie I showed you like a year ago?
What fish movie?
They were I cannot remember the name of the movie, but they were taking like salmon.
Yeah.
And they were purposefully giving them some sort of chemical, because that's what everything was. Everything was a chemical back in the 80s. And they were releasing them into the wild because they were wanting them to grow faster so this fishing village wouldn't go out of style. And they were turning humanoid. And they were capturing people, basically putting them into a coma and raping them or something to give birth to fish babies?
Yeah, that was dumb.
It was really dumb.
Yes.
There was a B-rate horror movie we forgot about, and it was so stupid.
Oh, it was.
It was beautiful.
We had a great time watching
the
it, though.
salmon suit. Remember all the people in the rubber salmon suits?
And that like lead actress who just refused to put on pants.
Oh my god, yeah, I think like 2/3 of the movie she was running around in a button-up flannel shirt and underwear.
Yeah, like her bikini bottom. It was quite a sight to behold.
Butthole. Yeah, I went there.
I was talking about the movie in general, but alright.
If we're doing B-rate movies, then I want a B-rate comment on it.
Yeah, let's just get as sleazy and depraved as the movies we're talking about.
Oh, God. Well, we're not near that bad.
Yeah. We're way too classy for that.
Right.
But, there was also Ghoulies, which I feel it definitely needs like an honorable mention sort of thing.
So, just off the top of my head, if I were to judge by no other thing than the title, I feel like Ghoulies would be like either ghoul or zombie hockey players.
Oh my god, that sounds awesome.
So I'm already better than the movie itself.
We could make a really good B movie just based off what you said. Like it can zombie goalies can like invade Toronto.
Yes.
Oh,
and then their worst hockey team has to play them in order to save mankind.
Oh God, yes. Say it slower.
And then the final kill. They eventually get the Zamboni to clean up.
Oh, I think I might come over to your house with a camera so we can start filming this.
Oh, yeah. You don't understand. No. I don't have a Zamboni, eh?
But, yeah, neither of us do. It would be awesome. I don't know what I'd do with it, but I'd want one.
We'd make this movie, or at least, oh my god, see, we already wrote the script. Now we just have to sell it to Troma Films and get, like, what, I don't know, what's their going rate for films? Like,
Yeah.
10 grand?
Yeah, like, get, what's his name, like, Lloyd Kaufman? I feel like that's not right. But, the guy who directs all the Troma movies, let's get him on the phone.
Wait,
so
there's only one director for all of them?
Yes.
One director makes like 10, 15, 20 movies a year.
Oh, yes. He is a madman.
I want to see him drive a car now for some reason. I feel like this is a guy who probably drives down the road because he can't sniff cocaine fast enough. He's like, just leave a line on the road. He just leans out of a car while sniffing cocaine to his next shoot.
Yeah, he took all the Andy Rooney crazy pills.
Oh god, Andy Rooney. There's something I happily haven't thought about since Just Shoot Me.
Fair enough. But no, he's great. But no, that is not what Ghoulies is. It is again a little creature feature. Some college kids have this like dumbass voodoo ceremony that is purely just like, hey, let's fuck around and find out, and they find out.
What did they fuck around with, and what did they find out about?
They fucked around with demons, and they found out not to fuck around with demons.
Go on.
Yeah, these like little puppet, like baby-looking demons come out and like start killing them and crap.
Huh.
Yeah. It gets dumber as the series progresses.
Oh my god, they made more than one?
They made 3, and they're all god-awful.
I kind of want to watch this.
Yeah, they're great in the sense that they're so terrible, you love them. But yeah, it was, I guess somebody just watched, like, the Gremlins movies and was like, you know what, that's nice. What if we made it, like, with a hard R rating, though? And we found out it would be really, really dumb.
It would be Ghoulies.
Yeah, it would be Ghoulies. But yeah,
you know,
that was something I really enjoyed.
I could see why you would. Why?
Because they knew it would sell because Gremlins was hot.
I mean,
I don't know what else to tell you. Like, Gremlins was a big deal back in the day.
It was.
A
I'm
lot
not going
of
to deny that.
And a lot of horror movie producers and directors were like, you know what? We should make something like that. You know, we should make this fun creature feature that's both enjoyable in the sense that, you know, it's like cute little puppets, but they're also like going on a killing spree.
Okay.
You could argue that Puppet Master it came out around the same time, but one, that's an actually really good horror movie, and two, I feel like it separated itself enough from the concept of Gremlins that it doesn't really qualify.
So, there's very few, like, most of my B-rate horror movies are close enough to action movies because that's what I watch.
Yeah.
Like,
you're a really big action fan. I know you love Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, Jackie Chan, Jet Li.
Yeah. I indulge from time to time, so it's not like no judgment, but
yeah.
I really like the Predator movie, the first Predator movie. That was really
Danny
good.
Glover in the second one.
Oh, I don't. Oh yeah, I actually
it took
remember
place in like
that.
Chicago or something.
No, I remember because I watched Predator for the first time with my dad, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever because I think I was like maybe 10 at the time.
Good movie.
Very good.
Probably shouldn't watch people getting their spines and skulls ripped out when you're 10.
Probably not, but my dad knew I was. You know, at that point, I knew it was all make believe.
Yeah.
But after that, we were at a movie store later on, and I found Predator 2, and I'm like, hey, they made a sequel! He's like, Yeah, no, we don't talk about that.
We don't. Yeah, no.
I don't know what it was that turned him off of it, but he did not like Predator 2. And I never saw it, and I don't know why.
You still to this day you haven't seen it?
No.
Huh.
Yeah. I even watched Alien vs. Predator. Like,
Why?
and that was... There's no way that, like, Predator 2 was worse than Alien vs. Predator. I really want to believe...
Let's move on.
Okay.
So, Alien 4. I loved the first two Ripley movies.
Oh, yeah.
They were good.
The Alien movies, yes.
Yeah. And then Alien 3, it kind of started to go haywire.
Yeah, I
like,
think that was the thing. It wasn't necessarily that it was a bad movie. It was a mediocre movie when the first two were, like, amazingly good.
It could have been a perfectly fine movie. It had, I want to say, Lawrence Fishburne in it. And it was a really good series. It would have been a perfectly normal movie if it wasn't just completely overshadowed. And I know this probably is more of an action movie than a horror movie. But to me, it was, I mean, the first Alien, it had all the makings of a great horror movie.
Oh,
You had a creature that was going around killing people. They didn't know what it could do. It didn't have the campy one-liners. I'm sorry.
I would say it was a really good horror movie, set firmly in horror, with elements of sci-fi.
And then you get to number 4.
Yeah, we get to number 4, which is probably the only time I've really been disappointed in Winona Ryder. She's a wonderful actress, just it was a really bad movie.
Yeah, I know Predator 4 is so bad. I watched it once when I was 12 and never saw the whole movie. Still to this day refuse to watch it.
Oh, it was dumb.
Right? I just remember...
Like, I watched the whole thing, and man, let me tell you, I wish I didn't.
And I just remember Winona Ryder going through, and she's like, wait, didn't I kill myself? They cloned you. Really?
No, that's Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, well, you know who I meant. But I couldn't remember what Ripley's name was.
Yeah.
And, Sigourney Weaver going through, and why were they trying to rescue her or break her out? I don't remember. I don't know, because I never saw the beginning of the movie. I just remember watching her, I'm like, oh my god, there's another Alien movie. Maybe it's going to be good. And then she walks into a laboratory and sees herself on a lab table who's like made out of tentacles or some shit.
Oh my god, that's where you stopped?
That's where I started my watching season. Yeah, I walked in and there's Sigourney Weaver walking through and she's like, oh my god, because the thing is like, kill me. And she uses a flamethrower to burn it down. I just remember one of the guys leaning over and like, that seemed like a waste of ammo. He's like, dude, she's working through some women problems.
Yeah, oh.
Like, what? Huh?
I feel bad. Like, you actually missed, well...
The only good part in the movie?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's good, but, like, after a while it just becomes like, here, this is shocking! Yeah, okay.
Like where she gives birth to an alien that looks absolutely nothing like an alien.
Yeah, it just becomes like shock value, but you're not really shocked because you've already been through like the like Hall of Illusions of like Ripley seeing herself all deformed and crap.
It was a very weird movie. I've never had a desire to.
But yeah, the beginning actually I feel like the beginning actually builds it up really good. Like it's like a Shinedown song. You feel it building up, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be good. And then immediately you're like, dude, why'd you do this? Yeah.
But it was. I don't know if that's just a bad movie or kind of campy. It had some moments in it that were interesting. I'll give it that.
I don't know. I would honestly say, like, it's just so bad it's awful. Like, there's a difference between so bad it's good and just bad. And I would say Alien Resurrection fits into that.
Going off of space movies, what about Jason X?
I actually liked it. in the sense that it was really dumb and campy, and it made me laugh a lot.
I mean, at least like they said, they took Jason to Manhattan. They finally got him away from Crystal Lake. What do we do now? Jason in space.
Which, yeah, I think was the first. I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but it was the first movie I can think of where they had like all these really good slasher villains, and they're like, what do we do with them?
We'll throw him in
I don't know.
space.
Take them to space, man.
Yeah.
It's the final frontier.
I mean, because we know they did it. Leprechaun did it. I'm trying to think just right off the top of my head who else.
You mentioned Ash Williams went to
Yeah, in
space.
the comic book. He never did it
Yeah.
in any form of media that I'm aware of other than comic books.
Fair enough. But you can do all kinds of crazy stuff in comic books that you can do in film.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's ironically where Sam Raimi can receive some criticism for the Spider-Man movies.
I enjoyed the Raimi.
Oh, I loved them.
the
Don't
first
get me
two.
wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
the
just
first
saying.
two were wonderful. I did not care for the third at all.
I didn't even hate that one. Like, I didn't... Okay, it had its really dumb moments that you were just like, dude, no. But I never really felt like, I never want to see this again. You know?
Yeah.
I definitely have watched the first two movies a lot more since then, and I feel like you can definitely gauge a movie based on how you feel about watching it again.
And see, the guy that they got to play the second Spider-Man, I enjoyed both of his movies. I don't know...
Oh, Andrew Garfield.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if they just didn't play a third movie because they thought maybe there was a curse on Spider-Man movies or something. But, you know...
Honestly, maybe it's just because I really like the campy, goofy nature of
the Sam Raimi movies?
The Sam Raimi movies, but I didn't really care for it. I didn't hate it. Like, there wasn't anything I could be like, oh, this is stupid and awful, and I never want to have anything to do with it. It was just like, yeah, that was a movie, alright. Anyway, moving on.
Right. And see, and I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Oh, Tom Holland's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so far he's played two characters I really, really like.
Him and Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
And you were
I was
really
impressed both times.
Yeah,
yes.
you were really against watching the Nathan Drake. What was the name of that?
Uncharted.
Yeah, the Uncharted movie, and you're like, no. And I'm like, come on, no. And then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna hate it. You watch it, have Marky Mark and Tom Holland, and they did such a good job.
Yeah,
and they had the Mexican guy. Help me out here from Desperado.
Oh, Antonio Banderas?
Yeah, didn't he play the main bad guy, and then they killed him off like 3/4 of the way through the
yeah.
movie? Great movie.
Yeah.
All in all, you were like, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Well, it was because I could, like, take some time to, like, separate it from the video games and be like, okay, Sully's not going to be Sully, Nathan's not going to be Nathan. You know. Hell, Chloe was in it, and she was actually somewhat accurate to the video game version, but at the same time, not you know, 1-to-1, but
no, but
pretty accurate.
If you weren't going to separate it from the movie, or from the game, I know you wouldn't have liked it much. What would you have thought?
I'd probably honestly be really confused that they'd want to cram, because there are elements of like all the games in there.
Oh, see, I was really hoping they were going to do like a spin-off, like, this is the first game, and then if it does well, we'll go off and do another one that has...
Yeah, that would honestly be really cool. I'd be really interested in how they'd handle Elaine, but they didn't do that. They just crammed all the games into one. And I feel like for what they were trying to do, they did fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had a good time. I really liked the characters. As long as you can, like, separate it from that and be like, again, Sully's not going to be Sully. Nathan Drake's not going to be Nathan Drake. They're not going to be the exact same characters because, you know, somebody, like, played the Uncharted games and was like, yeah, but what if? Because that's what artists do.
Yeah. And I like the fact that they're willing to go out there and explore to see what
Yeah.
happens. And I think that's why a lot of these B-rate horror movies are the way they are. There are
Yeah.
a lot of things, bad movies do that good movies go, okay, this was a bad movie, but there were aspects of it that we can take and make wonderful. Think of all
yeah.
the things that some of these B-rate movies did that got incorporated into great movies later on.
And I mean, I think I've mentioned it before. I call it Pink Floyd syndrome. Gus Van Sant has also went on the record. We will do a Gus Van Sant episode. He doesn't know it yet, but it'll happen.
Who's Gus Van Sant?
He's a very famous director who made very randomly skilled movies. But anyway, I call it Pink Floyd syndrome. You do the things everyone else is afraid to do. Maybe there's a reason they're afraid to do it. Maybe it's because it's not going to end up to be very good. Or maybe it'll be something so creative and genius that everyone's jealous of you for not doing it themselves.
And, like I said, I think in today, B-rate movies can do things that big studios aren't willing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a formula they want to follow. They're like, look, if we're going to invest $50 million into this movie, you have to get us at least $75 million. And we know this, and this will do that.
Well,
And you can do all these things between the lines, but you have to have these in the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas B-rate, you drop $25,000 on a crappy horror movie, you're not really expecting a return on your movie, so you're like, you know what? Wow me.
Yeah, exactly.
And they do that.
Sometimes, yes. I actually remember it's not a horror movie at all, but you showed me Kung Fury, which was clearly meant to be low budget, meant to be cheesy.
It was obviously a passion project.
Yeah, it was a love letter to action movies of the 80s. And I had a lot of fun watching it. Lord knows you had a lot of fun watching it.
I did. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. I've heard that they were thinking about making a full-length action movie. That was years ago. I haven't heard anything since. Granted, that was I think a few months before COVID hit. Maybe something happened. I don't know, but I would love to know. If anyone has any information about what happened to the Kung Fury full-length movie, please let me know. We are 100% behind getting this movie.
Oh yeah, I would fund it. I can miss lunch for that.
Yes, I will gladly give you the $5 or $6 I spent on lunch today.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not today. I did not have that.
Yeah, to be fair, we got off work already, so we already spent that money. But, tomorrow's lunch, we could skip it if it means we can get another Kung Fury movie, and I'm pretty sure another Kung Fury movie would cost about as much as lunch tomorrow.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. And if it costs more than that, I'm willing to eat ramen noodles for a few days to have a really cool Kung Fury movie. Bring back Hacker Man.
Yes.
It's okay, Kung Fury. I hacked time. Where am I? You're in the Viking Age. That explains the laser raptors.
Oh, God, it's such a quotable movie. It's like a 20, 30-minute movie, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but it is so chock full of, excellent lines that it feels like a movie. Like a full-length movie.
All right. So is there anything else you want to talk about before we get ready to go?
Kinda.
What?
So we were sitting there talking about, really bad movies before the recording. And we actually ended up making up a list. And I feel a little bit ashamed of the fact I forgot about something you remembered, which was zombie hookers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Just watch. We got Shudder about a month ago because we wanted to prepare ourselves a little bit for the month.
And I'm not going to stop watching horror movies after this. I promise.
And an entire app dedicated purely to all things horror. Good, bad, the in-between. I knew you would love it.
Oh, yes. I am a really big fan. I actually already ended up making my first payment, and I do not regret at all. $60 well spent.
And first thing we found, we we were looking for the original Universal Monster movies.
Yeah.
And we were typing up Frankenstein, and what should pop up but zombie hookers? And I'm like,
Oh.
all right, you know what? Based on the title alone, I'm curious. It was only an hour.
No. That was Frankenhooker that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was also really, really good. Another really great trauma film. It's extremely Jersey. And you were actually talking a little bit about, like, we were talking about, like, films doing what no other film would do.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least B films doing what no other film would do. And I feel like they gave a few actors some chances that they wouldn't normally have. Sometimes it ended up really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the titular Frankenhooker herself. She shouts out random lines that was said before the movie, and it sounds really dumb, but then you can kind of tell by her facial expression she's like constantly scared or nervous or confused. And I feel like that kind of sells it, you know?
Yeah.
Because she just kind of goes with what's going on in her brain.
And her body parts are basically telling her what to say, and she's made out of like 12 different hookers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strange movie.
Yes, it is. And you can fail, like with the
exploding crystal meth.
Yeah, it was crack because this was the 80s. But,
here, smoke this, and now all of a sudden you explode.
Yeah, that was weird. It was also probably the least bloody trauma film I've ever seen.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot of fake blood like I'm so used to. But it was fun. We had a good time. You got any money? You want a date?
Let's do this.
Yeah, it's...
And then the guy that finally got to kiss her and his body exploded into electricity.
Yeah. Oh, God. There were so many, like... There wasn't a whole lot of blood, but there was a whole lot of people exploding.
But all at one time. We had to make sure to use the entire special effect budget basically in one day.
Oh, totally. Like, because we don't want to miss out on that. Like, we got the stunt guy here.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We got the mannequin guy here.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically, all these hookers are supposed to explode, but like a good half second before they explode, you could easily see them going from real people to that's a mannequin in a dress and wig.
Yeah. And, I mean, I forget his name. It was like Zorro or something.
Zoran, yeah, something like that. Something with a Z.
He was like a really good, like, intimidating pimp. In the sense he's kind of a sideshow in the movie, but like in real life, you'd be pretty fucking scared of that dude.
Yeah, big, buff, tank top, definitely 80s.
Very 80s. Very 80s, very New Jersey.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Alright, so, good movie. Interesting. We'll go with interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be good to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yes.
Entertainment doesn't have to be well made nor to be entertaining. And that's something I really want to bring to this podcast, is just letting people know, like, dude, you may have like a song you're working on or a film you're working on, or maybe you're even one of those indie video game devs.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Follow your
Because
dreams.
if nothing else, I'm sure someone is going to like it, even if that someone is just going to be like me.
Yeah.
Or maybe your mom. I don't know.
How did that old saying go? Even just do it, because even if you fail, at least you did it. No one can say you didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you fail, at least you got farther than most people who don't even try.
Yeah. There are a lot of independent filmmakers out there who might be unsure of themselves, and I'm letting you know right now, if nothing else, someone out there is definitely going to watch it, and someone is going to enjoy it. And It might not have been for the intended purposes, but I think I've enjoyed pretty much all of these films except for maybe Alien Resurrection.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, it was pretty god awful, but everything else I genuinely enjoyed, even if it wasn't the director's intention that I enjoyed it the way I did.
Oh yeah.
So,
all right. Well, that's it's definitely not going to be the last time we talk about camping movies.
oh, absolutely not.
But it is all we're going to do for today.
Yeah.
So, once again, thank you for listening. We hope you have a good day.
Yeah, you're Andrew.
And you're Patrick.
I am.
Yay!
So we will see you on the next episode
Of Alleyway Conversation.
That's correct.